It seems like sometimes we ask ourselves, why are we here? Sometimes we have a near-death experience or just some kind of crazy incident that happens or an accident that, we have friends that have passed away from accidents that were, what seemed to be like a less of an accident. And so it makes us ask us, like, why are we here? I'm not always sure that I have an answer to that question, other than I think everything that I've gone through in my life has allowed me to be here, to have conversations with others that, I guess maybe just need my perspective. So, and I guess if that's my reason, then that's good enough for me. So I wanted to share, I guess I can check the time on this after my first story, but I've got a couple stories. These two particular ones, I'll start with the first one. This was during a time I was making a lot of money and I was living in the fast lane. Let me tell you. So the first story, I had went out, did a birthday dinner downtown Austin, had a great time, had a few drinks, had a nice little buzz. Hung out there for the birthday dinner. A friend of mine who's a musician that was living in Oklahoma, he came down in town for a show, and then I went to like a little after party, got to see him for a little bit, and then me and my roommate, who was also there, we drove separately, so we were about to head back to our apartment. Well, we get to a stoplight near La Frontera, and for those of you who don't know, that's just a shopping center, and for anyone that watches this that is familiar with the area, this will at least give some markers as to where this happened. So anyway, there's this shopping center, La Frontera, and there's this little county road, and there's a stoplight. Me and him are next to each other at the stoplight. And once you go through this stoplight, you're gonna go all the way down, and it's gonna make this sharp 90-degree left turn in order to get on the toll road. So light turns green. I was in a Infiniti FX35, I think like an 05, and my buddy had a, I don't know what year his was, like an 07 Nissan Frontier, and we basically have the same engine, so we're literally neck and neck on this drive, and we get up to about 100 miles an hour, and around that time he starts to slow down, and I'm stubborn, so I decide to keep going just so I can get in front of him. Well, so as he's slowing down, and when you're going that fast, I mean, you're gaining ground fast, and I get far enough ahead and then get over, and I realize this 90-degree turn is coming up really fast. And so I start slowing down, and I immediately realize I'm not slowing down fast enough. So there's a retention pond that's like this concrete pond, and the concrete's raised. So if I go straight, I'm gonna hit this, probably flip over into the retention pond. So in a matter of seconds, I make the decision to get as far over to the right as I can to attempt to make this turn. I think I was about 70 miles an hour when I hit the turn. So I get over, I'm start making this turn, and my car starts sliding. It pops up over this curb, and I smash into this huge concrete pillar that comes down underneath the toll road. And I mean, just car smoking. My buddy, pulls over, and I hop out of that car, and he's like, I don't know what I'd have to ask him what his thoughts were. It was kind of a while back, but I know that he was shocked to just see me hop out of that car as if that didn't just happen. I was definitely bruised up. My knees slapped together. I thought I might have had a punctured lung. I didn't know what was going on, or maybe a broken rib. Fortunately, my buddy who's a chiropractor took some x-rays of me just to make sure, and I was all good. But the reason I tell that story is because I had a friend that was driving down what we call Harryman Road, also known as Brushy Creek Road, and I don't even remember how fast they were going, but I'm pretty certain it was less than that, and they had went off the road, and maybe it was faster than that, I don't know. But my understanding is that they weren't going that fast. They went off the road, hit a tree, and I think he was in the back seat, and his head hit the window, and it killed him. So when I think about, hitting head on a concrete pillar at 70 miles an hour, and I mean, it smashed the entire front of my car, and that I survived that, sometimes it just makes you wonder. All right, so we're 5 minutes in. Okay, so I got time for another story. So once again, I'm making a lot of money, living down the fast lane. One of my good buddies from the Air Force who lives up in California, he's always been like a surfer, snowboarder, and one of my visits, he turned me on to longboarding, which was like surfing on the road. I didn't do a whole lot of tricks. It was more of just carving the road. And so I came back to Austin, bought a longboard, and I was pretty much longboarding, twice a day. And at one point, it was November 11th or 12th, something like that. It was early November 2012, I think. And I remember going to dinner with my buddy, one of my best friends, and my dad. We had dinner, and actually, I didn't even drink this night, surprisingly, which is what's kind of ironic about this. And then my buddy was drinking, and then we picked up another friend, and I was like, hey, because at this point it's at night, and I was like, hey, do y'all mind driving my car and following me so I can, go ride? And the reason I did that, when you have a follow car at night, it prevents anyone that just runs up and runs you over. So I got a follow car. We're cruising down the road, and then it goes down. You start picking up some speed, and you get down to one of those little semicircles, right? And at this point, I'm probably going about 25 miles an hour. And as I'm approaching this turn, I hear a noise. And it's alarming to me because this is during a drought. We had no rain all summer, water restrictions, and this was like a park sprinkler that happened to come on, and the sprinkler was broken, and that was the noise I was hearing, was just gushing water, and it had soaked that whole road. So when I come, and this is about all I can remember, I remember coming into that turn and seeing the road wet, and I just remember trying to be stabilized, and I ended up falling off the board, and my buddy that driving the car said I rolled. I didn't get up. He got out of the car, and I was snoring really loud. It just so happened across the street was a paramedic that was unloading groceries, and he ran over and checked me out and told him that it looks like your buddy has a severe concussion. I knew one of their names, and the other friend, I didn't know his name. So he's like, he looks to have a severe concussion. You should take him to the hospital. Well, now mind you, see here, I had a little cherry on this side, and then I had a little, like on my hand, I had a little red cherry mark. So they take me back to my house, and I remember waking up on the couch, and my hearing was real sensitive, and there was pretty much a party going on at my house, and I was feeling kind of annoyed with all the loud noises, so I went upstairs, threw up, and told everybody to leave me alone, and I went to bed. Well, the next morning, my buddy wakes me up, and I was out of it, and he said, look, man, I don't care what you say, I'm putting clothes on you, and I'm taking you to the hospital. And I was just like, okay, that's fine. And sure enough, I had, which it's crazy because it didn't break my skin, but it cracked from here all the way up top of my head and all the way down the side of my head. So I literally cracked my head in half. And the crack was thin enough to where I didn't need any staples. My eyes did fill up where it looked like I had black eyes, but like blood was draining and caused like my eyes to blacken and get discolored for a few days. But the doctor said that the bleeding in my head was light enough to not be concerned about brain damage, and that, in all honesty, I just have to rest. He said, this is a miracle. He's like, it's a miracle that you're even alive. And he said, and the fact that your head did crack is probably what saved your life from going to sleep that night, because it relieved the pressure in your head. I mean, if you hit your head at 25 miles an hour on a concrete, it's going to give you a pretty good concussion. So once again, I have an incident like that, and all I need is to rest, to heal. It's like, why am I here? But I'm glad to be here. I have some other stories that maybe I'll one day share. Just goes in line with being lucky to be here. So I feel fortunate to have sobriety in my life right now, to be so clear-headed, and to kind of come from a place of appreciation for all the good, the bad, and the ugly stories, which shapes who I am today. So hope you enjoyed those stories. More to come. And if you guys have any stories, as always, put some comments down there, and let's ramp this show up. So hit the where's my little camera? Hit the subscribe button down there, and follow my page. Help me grow it. Let's do this. Cheers.